I'd like to call this meeting to order.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Letitia Willett,
Here.
Ernest Demon,
Here.
Philip Martin.
Here.
Michael Larson.
Here.
And myself.
So can I make a motion to move agenda item number 9 to under 4?
Can we have invocation first?
Well, we got to do readjust the agenda before we do anything else.
Okay.
And then we can do invocation.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Invocation, would anybody care to say the invocation? Okay. Che Miigwech Gejemanado Kinagego Gimijiyong Gejemanado Daga Bijinda Motion Nangwa Nada Motion Ong Kino Wewenne Je Ganawamdiong Meanwa Wewenne Ganodiong and so Gizigod Megwich 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 Megwich. Okay, can we have the minutes from 5:21 read?
Okay.
Motion to accept the minutes as read.
Second the motion.
I'll make that motion.
All.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
We move 9.
Right now.
Right now.
Okay.
So I make the motion to go into closed session?
Motion to go to close second?
Second.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We'll go into closed session for a little bit. All right, moving on from closed session. Reaffirm email votes. I don't believe we had any, so
No.
we'll skip that one. We'll move into election of officers. So we're open for nominations.
Okay, so I'll nominate Phil for vice chair.
I'll second that.
So that's taken care of.
We need a nomination for chair.
Yes, I nominate Mike for chair.
I second that.
Yeah.
And we need nomination for secretary, if there's no other.
Go ahead. No, I nominate Tish for secretary of the election commission.
I will second that. Are there any more nominations? None. Okay, nominations are closed. I think with no one running against, no opposition, I don't know that we need a vote
No.
I would just say without objection.
Without objection.
without objection.
Well, and there was a first and second on all of them, so.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries,
Yes.
everyone.
All right, Mike's chair,
Mike,
Bill's
chair.
vice chair, Tish's secretary.
So, seeing that went a little quick, can we take 5 minutes while Ryan and Josh are out of the
Yeah, go ahead.
Yep.
room, because that's really them for the next two?
I think they also had two people outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll take a break for, take a, okay. Going on break for 5 minutes.
We are back in session. We are moving on to agenda number 7, proposed Chapter 10 revisions and review.
I guess I'll say this, since I said I would say in open session. For anyone watching, we have a new elections attorney for now, so maybe to the enjoyment of some of you out there, I will not be on the elections attorney for now, as I'm the interim general counsel, and our staff attorney, Josh Elliott, will get the pleasure of working with the commission for a little bit here. For the proposed Chapter 10 revisions review, we have a draft that has been put on the website, and you guys are doing membership inputs, so I don't have any specific recommendations right now. I have an ongoing legal department red line that I was working on, and I've sent that to Josh so he can read through what we have so far with red lines, and he can make his own proposed changes and comments. So I don't have anything specific for number 7 from my end, unless the commission has anything. But number 8, I think, is maybe the more important one to discuss today, and that would be the priority changes to code and/or bylaws. So I'll pause to see if there's any questions from the commission on number 7, but I don't. I guess I do have one question. Mike, did we get you? Do you have a copy of you said you read the latest red lines. Do you have a copy?
I have it all
of
right
them?
here, yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
perfect.
Yes. So, members of the commission, if there is a motion to move from number 7 to number 8.
I motion.
We got a motion by Phil. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any objection? Number 7 is closed. On to number 8, review of high priority changes to the code and/or bylaws. Open for discussion.
I place this on, just kind of make sure we still have the high priorities straight. Kind of want to know, poor Ryan, but an update on where we are to get those kind of written up and codified so we can read them quickly and get them in front of the board as soon as possible.
Yes.
Sorry, Ryan.
I haven't had opportunity to put pen to paper on the high priority changes that we discussed last time, so.
So that, you know what that means?
Josh,
Hello, Josh. You can do that for us?
Yeah, if you can get me that list, I can begin working on incorporating them into the code for you.
And you have the list, right? You just send it over to him?
We got the list.
Yeah, we'll make sure he gets it.
Just to make sure we're all on the same page. Number of members. No, I forgot.
I know, let me pull it up.
Timeline, thank you.
The priorities, I did send this to Josh, he should have it. So last month, the top 3 were membership on the commission, so figuring out how many members, our time frame issues, figuring out how to adjust our time frames to give everyone on both ends more time to get their ballots and to get them returned. And then the conduct, contests, and complaints / sanctions, those were what I wrote down as our 3. And legal was to bring back language. First on these 3 priorities, I unfortunately haven't had time to do that. Now with the new delegation of workload, hopefully Josh will be able to get you his thoughts on how to go forward, prioritizing and changing the language in those. I did send out some suggestions, and it might be in the document I sent Josh, of some ways to start thinking about moving our timelines, which we did talk about last month. And Josh can take my notes and he can run and have his own proposed changes with your guys' input. The biggest thing I flagged, and I still think it's worth discussing, maybe not for next year because it's going to be here before we know it, but I want to remind the commission and Josh, we are not legally bound into that June date for elections. There's been talk over the years if it's a constitutional requirement. It is not. If at some point the tribe wanted to change the date of their election to not be that third Thursday in June, you are allowed to do that. It'd be a code change and board has to adopt it, but that's not set in stone. So that is one way to maybe change the timeline, but there's other ways that you guys can tweak the timelines. But I just want to make sure that you all are aware that you might hear it from membership, you might hear it from board members, even from former committee members, but we've done our due diligence and our research, and I've had talks with former committee members and board members and showed them what I found, and they've since agreed with me. You're not constitutionally bound to that June date.
A board member did bring that up when we were here, that
I know.
we had to.
Because under our Constitution, it appears that that first election, that first like regular election after, not the election we adopted the Constitution, but our first actual tribally run election ended up being in June, and it stuck. Doesn't mean it has to stick just because we did something in the past. If there's valid reasons that you guys want to change it, you can propose those changes. But there's also other ways that on the front end, there's lots of what I would call maybe kind of dead time on the front end of our elections that can be shortened and some of it potentially eliminated. So there are other ways that you can tweak the timelines. So.
That was suggested by a member in Escanaba that we shortened some of the front end.
Yeah, there's, in my opinion, I agree. There's room on the front end to slim it down. For the conduct of contests and complaints, my biggest thing that I flagged for you last month, and I'll flag it again for Josh, it's in our notes that I sent him, is getting the legal opinion language to read as advisory on the commission. Right now it reads as mandatory on the commission. That's a big one that I really would advise you all to change. And then we talked about potentially having a different setup for how you dispose and or deal with complaints, and making more things go to a hearing. And I'll let Josh run with that and give you guys some input. Instead of just it comes to the commission and you read what was submitted and you decide that and you dismiss it or you grant it as a violation, building in a more of a mandate to have this body do administrative hearings so all parties can submit their arguments and documents, et cetera. It's going to be, if we do that and we shift to more things being a hearing, it's a double-edged sword, right? You get more due process, you get a lot of complaints sometimes, and so there has to be some kind of balance of making sure the commission is focusing on the ones that appear on its face to have merit, and still having a mechanism where the ones that are on its face meritless, that you can dispose of them, or else you're going to get bogged down with doing a bunch of administrative hearings. So good luck, Josh, with that one. That's the broad strokes of what we talked about last month in my recommendations, but I don't have detailed recommendations, but Josh will get you those.
So to create a level of severity for complaints to how to deal with them, kind of like you would do a triage. If they're breathing and walking, deal with them later, go to those that are wounded and bleeding out.
Kind of, yeah. We talked about, in conjunction with the sanctions list, to get you up to get Josh and Michael up to speed. We talked about last time maybe 2 or more categories of sanctions. So you're going to have like administrative things that are like someone failed to place an express endorsement on their flyer. We don't need to deal with that through administrative hearing. On its face, we can see yes or no whether someone did an endorsement. If they didn't, you can, in the sanctions schedule, you can have that more of an automatic administrative penalty where you send them a notice, hey, you didn't do an endorsement, this is your first notice. Next time you do it, you're gonna get a second notice and a fine. We have a tiered sanction list now, so you can do like those missed report filing deadlines, fail to place an endorsement. Those are 2 examples I can think of right now. Some of those things that are more administrative, that are easy on its face for the commission to say, yeah, this was a violation. Send them a notice, give them time to remedy it next time. Don't have to go up to a actual contest, a complaint at a hearing. But you might have something that is initiated by a member that says so-and-so was illegally campaigning in these ways on this date at this place. And that might be appropriate to set a hearing date. The candidate can explain why they weren't illegally campaigning, and the member who filed the complaint can explain why they think they were. And then you guys have, you have right now administrative hearing procedures that you've adopted that are on our website, and you can run the hearings under those and then make a decision. It also creates a better record when you go to appeal. Inevitably, you're gonna find a violation on someone for something, and they're gonna appeal it, and it's gonna go to the Court of Appeals. We had two,
Not too many this time.
I think we had two last year that I argued at our appellate court. And we didn't do administrative hearing, so the record down below, so to speak, the record here at this level was based on what was submitted. If you have an administrative hearing, it would presumably be recorded, and you'd be able to send everything that was submitted, everything that was at the hearing, a transcript perhaps, the recording of the hearing. You send that to the Court of Appeals, and then they have the full record, so to speak, below, the court below, the commission's decision on which to help base their decision once they get to oral argument stage. It's a piece that over the years has mostly been lacking in our elections process. Sometimes the committees would do hearings, but in my research, it was very rare. And so a lot of the appeals there was not that clear record below on how the committee, especially in the past, made their decision, because it was not open session meetings like we do now. So it was very much, it was closed doors. And if they didn't do a hearing, the Court of Appeals didn't really have much to work on. Now everything is open. Your hearings would presumably be open unless there was a reason under our law that you would have to close it. I can't think of one right now in your context. So you'd be building that better record for the Court of Appeals. So that's what we talked about in regards to that last time.
Thank you, Ryan, for that. Are there any further discussions or questions to legal in regards to the review of high priority changes to the code and or the bylaws?
No.
Would it be safe to say that we create a motion to set aside and table for further review when information is provided to Josh?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second? Luann seconds. All that in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Josh is pretty good. I'm guessing, unless we see some unforeseen snags, between now and next meeting, I'm gonna guess he's gonna have some preliminary language for you all to start reviewing and workshopping together and tweaking further.
Thank you.
I apologize we didn't have it for this meeting, but as you know, there was a lot of changes in our administrative staffing levels in our department and across the tribe, and it was unfortunately just fell to the wayside because of that. But we'll circle back now that we've kind of shifted the workload, and we'll get you guys the red lines. So.
Bill, go ahead.
I have a question. In your chapter 10 here, you or Tish probably know, where is our timelines in this chapter?
They're scattered throughout. So like in the beginning, you have timelines for after you publish your notice of election. That has all your timelines laid out. We could pull one up, but then they have dates certain where they need to get they meaning the candidates need to get in their intent to run, and then there's other dates where they need to get in their nominating petitions, all their signatures signed.
You don't have that, right?
I can pull up our last one if you want to run through it quick.
Well, I just need the timeline so we can see how we can shrink it.
Yeah, I was
That'd
gonna
be
use
really
my
nice.
old one. You
I don't
know,
remember having one.
yeah, we
So-
had one from Lana,
So you go to the last election, or notice of election would be where you would really be able to pull that.
Uh-huh.
So that would be a quick, easy reference.
And it'll give you just a timeline, you don't have to go
Yeah.
through the whole chapter 10?
No,
Yeah, because that has to be in the.
I'll send it
The
to you
election
guys.
of notice
Okay.
has to have all the timelines in it. That's where it would be. The announcement, when this has to be in, when this has to be in, when that has to be in.
Okay.
so we can,
So, for example, like we posted, looks like it was posted January 26, 2024. The very first deadline is March 29th is the deadline for voter registration. In this new context, that means it's the deadline for out of unit members, someone who does not reside in our 5 election units. That's their deadline to get to the commission through enrollment. They usually send it to enrollment. Their unit of choice. So if I live in Grand Rapids,
They have
but I want to
continue.
continue voting Unit 1, I have to submit by that date my voter registration that says I am choosing to vote in Unit 1.
Okay.
So that's their deadline, and then
Yeah.
the next deadline was April 18th. That was the nominating petition deadline. I'll email this to you guys
Okay,
here in
thanks.
a second, but this will give you the rundown of how the timelines currently under our code pan out.
All right.
And I think there's lots of room to work between that January date where you post the notice of election up until the April 25th
Yeah.
date of list of eligible candidates. I think you guys have a lot of room that you can probably figure out how to finagle and work in the beginning there to maybe shorten things up. To give you more room, so May 2nd, for example, was the deadline to mail the primary ballots, if you guys have a primary. If you can shorten things up on the front end, you can maybe
Make that longer.
the mailing can go out sooner to allow for more time for everyone to get their ballot, in time for so May 2nd was deadline to mail primary ballots. May 23rd was primary election day. That is not a lot of time for everyone to get their ballots and get them back to you in time for tabulation night. So if there's a way you can shorten it and mail things sooner, with the appropriate code changes to allow people more time to both get their ballots and to return them to you, you're gonna hopefully see more ballots on tabulation night that you're able to certify and tabulate, and you're not gonna get hopefully as many late ballots, because you're gonna give people ideally more time to get you the ballots
Okay.
back. Same thing with the general election, June 6th, we mail the ballots. We got them out sooner. You guys got them out sooner. That was a deadline. It's a deadline. You
Get 'em
can
out.
get them out sooner,
We got 'em out
but
a
you
week
can't get them out
before.
later. So you guys got them out about a week
Yeah.
earlier for the general election. So it was like end of May. You actually were able, because you were able to resolve any of the contests related to the primary in time to get your mailer out sooner. So you actually got it out the week before June 6th. And then June 27th was general election day. That's tabulation day. But building into code more wiggle room is just all for the better. So let me email this right now before I forget.
Okay, thank you.
yeah,
Thank you, Ryan.
I use my old one because,
So hopefully the next time we meet, we can look at this and see how we can shrink that. This way it'll give people, if they don't get a ballot, they can let us know and we can send one out. Can't do that in, 3 weeks?
no, because it takes,
Yeah.
the mail takes so long, yeah.
I'll find for Josh, a while back.
Yeah.
I started kind of trying to map out how I would potentially change the deadlines. It's been a while since I looked at that draft. I'll find it for Josh and send it to him, and then he can see at least what my thoughts were. This was a while back.
Maybe when you get it all hatched out and stuff, you can email it to us.
Yep, I'll try
Okay.
to get it done here in the next couple weeks.
Oh, no problem.
I had another quick
We're
question.
slow at everything here. Well, you got old people here. I mean, it's nice to see a couple of young people here. Jeez.
My back doesn't feel young, though.
Oh,
Can we give, if a
Who am I missing?
member asks us for a copy of the red line, can I print one out at home and give it to him?
Yes.
Go for it. It's,
Copy of this, yeah?
yeah, it's posted out there on our website. You guys can make copies and give it
They don't
to,
have the
give it to people?
website,
Yeah.
They don't have access, so.
Matter of fact, when
And the
we go
next
to our
community meeting, I will have copies.
Yeah. Yeah, when we go to our next
I'll
meeting,
have
yeah, we'll have
copies.
a couple.
So we'll have copies in Ken
We
Ross?
should have copies.
Did you
Thank you,
have copies
Natasha.
for the ones
To
in?
give,
We didn't, because I forgot.
Yeah.
I was so worried about snacks. No, I'm just kidding. I was trying to get everything done and get out of town. I had plans not to come into work, and I ended up coming to work because I had stuff to do, so, yeah, I forgot.
they gave
I'll
us
make
the
sure.
right-
But I will make sure there's some next time we go out.
Thank you.
But
Letitia.
certainly, feel free to make copies and hand out to tribal members
Okay.
as you see
Yeah,
fit.
'cause some people wanna see, they can't, they don't have access.
Yeah.
And they wanna see the paper, they're old fashioned or whatever.
Yeah.
So, that's good.
One question I do have, Ryan, would be in regards to your statement of the timeline to pick their unit. Can we get clarity, or myself get clarity on the question that if an individual lives outside of our units and they have to submit their form stating which unit they would like to vote in, if they do not do that, does that exclude them from the ability to vote, in case that question is out there for members?
It depends. It depends on the election that's being administered. So if it's a referendum election, so someone did a referendum petition on a resolution of the board passed and they got the necessary signatures and now it's being sent to election of the people to see if they approve or disapprove of the board's action, everyone can vote in that. So even if they didn't designate a unit, it gets sent out to everyone who is, quote, registered to vote. And right now, that's everyone who's a Sioux tribe citizen, 18 and older. If it's an election year that we have a chairman's race, because chairman is elected at large, they can vote, they'll get a ballot only for the chairman
Okay.
if they didn't designate a unit. Next year, there is not a chairman's race. If we have registered voters, and we do, who have not, by the deadline, selected a unit of choice, they cannot vote in unit-specific elections. So you would only be sending people ballots who are residents of one of the 5 units or who have designated one of those 5 units. And so probably next year, if the numbers stay the same as last election, you're going to have nearly 18,000 Sioux Tribe citizens who did not designate a unit and are choosing not to vote next year, and
Okay.
unless they decide, unless they change their mind between now and then.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you
I'm
for
glad
that
brought
information.
up.
Yeah.
How, maybe that's what we should be asking, us, how can we get those people on board to vote?
They think they're already,
Well, that's what I'm saying, they
Yeah.
probably don't know the status of what's going on.
We've talked about this, Phil. but
Memo out to them?
Yeah, we've talked about one of the things that this commission has flagged before, and we just haven't figured out yet what that looks like, is better voter information out there, better membership outreach to explain our elections, to try to get more people interested in voting. It's something that you all have flagged previously, and I agree with you, it's something that needs to be done. I'll leave it right to this body and your attorney to figure out
Okay.
what that looks like, but I certainly think educating our membership, especially if we're getting a new software and hardware in here for next election, even though the process will remain the same, educating our citizens on how and why and et cetera of our elections, just getting people better informed, what it means to designate a unit, what it means that you're automatically registered. What are you automatically registered for? You're only automatically registered for referenda elections and chairman elections. There's probably misinformation about that, right?
there is.
And so, yeah, getting stuff on our website, on the elections tab, getting stuff mailed out, whatever means the commission thinks is appropriate and has in their budget. You have the ability and the authority under code to do those things and to educate our members on what our elections are, how they run, what rights they have, what steps they need to take to ensure that they have a get their vote voiced appropriately. Like, all those things are great things to try to build towards for next election.
Do we have to
Whatever that
go in
looks like.
front of the board every time we want to do that?
Nope, only if something you're doing is gonna cost money that's outside your budget, then you're gonna have to go get a budget mod.
Okay.
We're gonna have to help you guys get a budget mod for the clear ballot stuff that we're working on towards purchasing to update our current software and hardware and, for our tabulation and creating ballots and all the things that we do in our elections. So maybe part of that budget mod is Lana and Ashley can work with you on what your current budget is set at, and you can see what you might want to ask as far as modification. Certainly, we've talked about with the board, and I guess we didn't talk about it in open session, but I'll talk about it now. It's not, in general terms, we're looking at updating, right, with our IT, very much outdated hardware and software that we currently run our elections on, and it's going to be a cost to it. And so that's going to go to the board once it's finalized at this body for a budget mod, and maybe part of the discussion can be, if you think you need some more money for voter outreach, figure out what that might look like collectively, and get with our staff to figure out what your current budget looks like, and that can also be a discussion with the board. If you think you need, you definitely need more money to update our system. If you need more money beyond what's just going to cost to update our systems, have that discussion at your level here, and then pitch it to the board, because that's when the board needs to take action. But otherwise, no, if you have, and there's lots of ways you can do this, but that would be very low to no cost with social media nowadays. You can probably find ways within your current budget to start getting more information out to the membership through our social medias, our website, Facebook, et cetera. So if you're mailing stuff out, that's a cost.
Yeah.
But if you're doing stuff online, we already have that process set up with our communications department. So.
Right.
We have all the new users now, or new members. How are they getting registered?
So enrollment will send out, this is something that I guess I'll have to figure out with the commission. We'll have to touch base with enrollment. You all will have to touch base with them. But the standard practice is that they will figure out a date. It's usually November-ish, where they send out the voter registrations to people. So you'll have to work with them to figure out cost, timeline, who's getting the mail, et cetera. But they sent out before last election, they sent out to everyone who was newly registered, hey, you're newly registered, pick a unit. You'll have to work with them to figure out what that looks like, because they blasted everyone that was currently enrolled at the time. So now if you want to do more of a targeted one to just the new enrollees, work with enrollment. They can help you figure out what that list looks like.
I thought they sent it with their new cards.
I do believe they provided
They sent
for
it
the
multiple ways, yeah.
new enrolled members a card for registration to
Okay,
vote.
perfect. Then
With
they
their
might have
welcoming packet to
already
the tribe.
gotten.
Yes.
They might have already gotten it. And certainly you can put notices on our website. They can print out the form. The one online, I think, is not the newest one. I'll have to double check on that. But you can do a Facebook post, and you can attach the voter registration form that way and just remind everyone. If enrollment is sending them out with the card, that's perfect. So they're already getting, we're still a ways off from our election. People might have thrown it away at this point,
Yeah.
not thinking an election's happening anytime soon. And so there's still probably value in some sort of outreach from the commission, at least through our online presence anyway, right? So.
We might want to,
An example of the packet.
like maybe our secretary, we don't want to put stuff on Facebook or any of the stuff that's out there without going through the election commission first. We might see she might see something, and I might contradict it.
Yeah.
So we
Oh,
might
yeah,
want
I
to
admit,
one
no,
person put
Well-
what we want to put out there.
We would, because it's a tribal entity, we would go through the communications department who controls our Facebook page and our website.
Okay, all right, good.
So in the past, this body can choose how they want to do posts. Last election, leading up to the last election and through the last general election, what the process was our staff helped write them. I think now we're at a point where the commission can probably write them themselves, but we helped write the notices, and then Boyd Snyder was the chair at the time. He approved them, and then our staff helped facilitate an email with Boyd CC'd on it to communications to get it posted. The commission's starting to take a lot more of the administrative role, so I imagine you guys will be able to do that without really the need for staff to help you, but staff, of course, can help you as you need it, but you're all equipped now, and with Tish being the secretary, and she is also a staff member,
Yeah.
she'll be able to help facilitate that in a different way, and you can decide if it's just for general voter information, if you just want the chair, Mike, to approve it, or if this whole body wants to approve the language at a meeting, and then Mike and Tish as chair and secretary facilitate with communication. You guys can figure out what your process looks like. Previously, the chair handled a lot of those things without doing it at the meeting levels, but that's a process that you all as a body can decide how you want to do that going forward, so.
Thank you, Ron. In regards to number 8, everybody, is there any additional discussion from any member before we move on to the next order of business?
No. We can move on.
Moving on, we are going to go to number 10, other. If any member has any new business or other business they'd like to discuss, please, by all means.
Just a reminder, July was moved to the 23rd.
July.
Meeting was moved to July 23rd.
Commission meeting.
The commission meeting, yes, sorry.
What was it?
Oh, the commission meeting.
It was originally, what was it, the 16th, but that was running into the Lansing meeting for the
Oh,
board of
yeah,
directors
I noticed.
with,
So you said the 23rd.
yeah,
All right.
with, who
23rd.
knows who's not going to be here? Ashley,
So that's the info.
Josh,
Already has
Ryan.
That's gonna be the info and everything, right? Because we're gonna have the info meeting and the commission meeting at the same time.
What did we
So
have
they're both being moved?
Info meeting is July 21st.
Yeah,
The info meeting is?
Yes, in Hessel.
Wait, so we're gonna have to be,
Yeah, I know. When is the one at the Sioux?
today.
Today,
at 1
at
o'clock.
1 PM.
Oh, man, okay. All right, so the 16th,
I just feel that these.
You guys set a lot of dates. I don't have them all in my head either.
9th of July will be in St. Agnes. 16th of July will be in Newberry.
Correct.
21st in Hessel. And then we have our regular commission meeting on the 23rd.
Correct.
Is that on our ticket? Ashley?
that's in Newberry, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I was
All
gonna
right.
say, it's on the phone.
So the 23rd,
She's got it on the
Avatar.
23rd already.
who does?
Ashley.
Ashley?
Yeah.
I didn't get it.
Well, my little calendar's got a little mark on it from her, so.
Oh, excuse me, shoot,
Yeah, I got the new list for the 23rd as well.
Ashley.
Just a reminder. That's all I had.
Yeah,
Thank you, Letitia.
one of us will show up in the wrong
Thank you,
place.
Ryan.
Luann had mentioned referencing the welcome packet for our new members. I can check with enrollment as I meet with them next Wednesday and can possibly receive what they send out to those new members so that we as individuals will have that information and can see it.
Thank you.
Any other new business? Hearing no new business, Motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Ernie. Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Philip. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion is adjourned
I gotta get.
at 12:30 PM.
All right.
Our next meeting's at 1, correct?
Yeah.